Hi Annie, Rebecca Munro here from CGM Communications. I want to know how you personally make space for creativity during times of stress and high workload.
Yes, creativity. I think sometimes when you do have a high workload and things might be stressful, occasionally you just need to put creativity to the side, get the work done, and that will obviously lower your stress levels to begin with. But I think when you need to be creative, there's a number of ways that I look at doing this. One of them is to take a bit of time out, and that might be before work or after work, but to go through what the issue that I might be thinking of, put down what it is on paper, some possible pathways to solving it, and then go outside, and preferably go outside in nature. Put those thoughts behind, but they're just percolating in the background. And when your brain has got a bit more space, sometimes those great ideas can come to you. I also find talking to people who have got high energy and have got great ideas is also a good thing. So a coffee catch up with someone, and not talking about the issues that might be concerning you at the time, but just being with someone that has these great ideas can spark a whole lot of ideas for you as well.
Hi Annie, thank you very much for your time today. My question is, what's the one thing that you wish you could change about organizations that would enable women to be better represented in senior positions? And what steps do you think we could take to achieve this? Thank you.
It's obviously really important that more women are represented in senior levels. There's a great story that I heard a while ago. It was about a European orchestra, and they felt that they had far too many males in the orchestra and they were wanting to have more females. But every time that they did auditions, they still ended up with a larger percentage of males. So one year they decided that they would put a curtain between the selectors and the people who were auditioning, so that the selectors wouldn't be influenced by whether they were male or female. However, at the end of the session, they realised they still just had as many males that normally got through and still not many females. So the next year, they also did the selection behind a curtain, but they actually asked the people to take their shoes off. And this made all the difference, because they could still identify people by the shoes that they were wearing as they came in to be auditioned. And once they did that, they found that year they had a much greater number of women represented. I don't know how we change the culture within organisations so that we can look past gender, race and age. But I think one thing that organisations, perhaps a step that they could take to increase women in senior leadership, is to have more support and mentoring for women as they're making their way through their journey through the organisation. So having peer support groups, but having mentors, both male and female, to work with women to particularly talk about what their strengths are and to bring those out, but also to how to navigate through that particular organisation, more knowledge about the organisation and where their pathways may lead, so that they will be more confident to take on those greater roles. I also think the mentors then will be great, because they will know the women well, will be great champions for those women when they actually apply for other positions. It's a small step, but I think it could be really helpful.
Hi Annie, Diana Vitasevich, Innovation Culture from Perth, Western Australia, and also involved with the Copland Leadership Program. My question today is, how do you deal with really complex problems and complex issues? And what are some of the strategies and tips about the approaches that you take, and then lead others to work within that levels of complexity? We've really been in some trying times, and we've still got the next stages to go. So really interested to hear what you have to offer us. Thank you.
The first question that I ask myself is, what is the outcome that I want here? There might be all these different things, but what is the main outcome? And being very clear on this, and times when you become entangled, keep going back to what is the outcome I want? Not what I have to do, but what is the outcome? And then work back through that. I do find mind mapping can be useful, either on a whiteboard or on a large piece of paper, putting down a whole lot of ideas and then connecting them up. After a few iterations, some of these focus areas become more clear and more concentrated, and then I can start working through on that. Speaking to other people, obviously, getting their ideas, different perspectives on things, and then working through, and then perhaps working through some of the solutions of how to get there. And then you come up with what some of the barriers might be, maybe what some of the cliffs you're about to head over, and then rework it. Then how do you get other people on board? I think the best thing is gather together the people that you're going to be working with. Once again, make sure, spend a bit of time to making sure you are all on the same page about what the outcome is that you're wanting to achieve. Then work through the various different steps that need to be taken, and particularly who is going to be running with those things. Let people go away, but then regular revisits on where people are getting to, roundtable discussions, lots of brainstorming and reworking, definitely being flexible to be able to change what you're doing or what your ideas are, and replaying these and reworking them. Don't always come up with the solution perhaps that you're wanting to, but I think you can be a long way along the pathway by doing some of these things.
Hi, my name is Jamie De Palma, Project Director at Pritchard Francis Civil and Structural Consultancy. We've endured such unusual economic times over the past 12 months, and some industries have excelled and others have floundered. So I'm assuming that this would have had an impact on donations and cash flows for a variety of not-for-profit organisations. My question relates to the Fogarty Foundation in particular, and whether innovation or unconventional methods have been implemented over the previous 12 months to sustain interest and donations, really just to ensure that the foundation can excel in leaps and bounds over the future years. Thank you very much.
Yes, these certainly have been unsettling and challenging times for everyone, and definitely for not-for-profit organisations. At the Fogarty Foundation, we're fortunate in that we're not dependent on outside funding. Most of our funding comes from our family and from the investments that we make, which my husband does and he does very well. We do get some funding on particular programs, like our advanced program, where we work with school leaders in disadvantaged communities. And in this particular program, we have support from both the Department of Education, Catholic Education Office, and also some from private funders who also believe in the importance of quality education for all. And we have found that we have maintained this support over the last year, and that will continue through as well. Though I do know that there are a lot of not-for-profits organisations out there who are finding this very difficult. Not only are their services being called on more, so there's more demand for them to do more, but also some of their funding has been restricted. I think the whole pandemic this last year has been very interesting though, in that it has made people much more aware and empathetic of the plight of others. For instance, in education, there has always been quite a significant amount of educational inequity, that some young people and their schools are well-resourced, and other schools and students face so many challenges and there are not as many resources for them. But I think a lot of this has been overlooked. However, through the pandemic, it became very obviously the digital divide, that some schools and students were really well-resourced and they found working online, for some of them, even really positive, where there were other students who either had no devices at home or had to share them amongst a number of other family members and may have had very little or no internet. So online learning for them was very difficult, and it actually increased the digital divide. But I think this came out and more people are aware of that. So it will be interesting going forward to see how people react to this, both private individuals who are donating, but also all companies and organisations who I think are becoming much more aware of their corporate social responsibility. The foundation going forward, we will be looking at a couple of new initiatives over the next year or so. One of them is very much about how we enable students and schools to be future fit so that we can become a smart nation and not dependent on resources or doing what we've done to date, but being smarter. We know that our educational outcomes are declining, and one of the things we need to do is increase the aspirations, educational aspirations of students, of teachers, and within schools. So these are two initiatives that we're looking at, and we will definitely be looking to try and get people to partner with us, both for funding and also for their input and support.
Hi Annie, my name's Diana Cameron. I'm an associate at Arup. My question is, if you could have dinner with 5 of the most inspiring people, inspiring to you, who would they be and why? Thanks so much, have a great day.
What a great question about who I would have to dinner. First of all, I would have my husband Brett, because he is by far the most interesting person that I know. We also have very different ideas and approaches, so he would be asking our guests different questions than I would, so I think that would make for a far more interesting conversation. Melinda Gates is one person I would love to meet and love to have at a dinner conversation. I think the work that she and her husband Bill are doing is just amazing. They have changed the way philanthropy is run and how it is looked at worldwide, as well as how you approach really big, complex global issues. She's married to a highly successful man, but she remains her own individual, doing really effective work. So I think she would be fantastic to have at the dinner table. I also think William Shakespeare would be great. I think that he was able to look at humanity and people's different issues that they have in a whole range of different situations and different guises, and then was able to articulate these in such a wonderful way that still hundreds of years later we want to hear what he has to say. So I think he would be a great addition, as would Nelson Mandela. And I expect that Nelson Mandela would be on a lot of people's dinner invitation lists, because like me, I think most of us regard him because of the difficulties, the huge difficulties that he faced and that he saw his people enduring, and that he was still able to rise above his own personal situation to lead strongly on a non-violent path, which not only saved, I believe, probably hundreds of thousands of people's lives at the time, but also set a fantastic foundation for his nation to go ahead with. Also, he has been a fantastic role model that other leaders have followed his way of leading. You know, how do you lead from the heart and lead well? I think there's such important things which affect us all. And the 5th person that I would love to have at a dinner party would be Michelle Simmons. She is a professor of quantum physics at the University of New South Wales, and she was the 2018 Australian of the Year. I think her mind is just amazing. It is so far-reaching, and she is taking us to the frontiers of knowledge as we know it in quantum physics and quantum computing, and where she is going is definitely going to change our world. I have met her. She's also a really warm and compassionate person, and someone who can explain these mind-boggling concepts to the average person so that they can grasp it. So if I had all those people for dinner, I think that'd be a fantastic dinner party.